My name is Elisa. I was only 17 when my parents sent me away from our small village to the big city of Manchester. But unlike other girls, I wasn't sent to study. I wasn't sent to build my future. I was sent to a hotel, not as a guest, not as staff, but as a girl for sale. My father always insisted we were poor, that money was everything. My mother just stayed tragically silent. When I desperately begged them to let me go to school, they actually laughed. School. Education doesn't fill our stomachs. You will help us earn. I didn't truly grasp what they meant until the night I arrived at that awful hotel. The manager, a middle-aged man with a horribly greedy smile, welcomed me like a mere piece of property. My parents handed me over as if I was nothing more than a bag of old clothes. And the moment they left, driving away without a single backward glance, the terrible truth finally hit me. They had sold me. I was alone. The hotel room looked completely normal from the outside. White, fresh sheets, dim, warm lights. Maybe some flowers on the table. But I soon discovered its dark, brutal purpose. A man entered with money ready in his hand, and pure hunger in his eyes. I was terrified out of my mind. I begged him, pleading, "Please, I don't want this. I'm only 17. But he simply didn't care. For him, I was not a human being. I was an object. That night, my body was used, and my soul was shattered. I cried silently into the pillow, trying to process how parents could possibly do this to their own child. Days bled into nights, and nights turned into endless, agonizing pain. Men kept coming. 5, sometimes 6, in just one day. Old men, young men, rich men, poor men. Different faces, but the exact same cold eyes and the same lust. They never once asked my name. They never once asked if I was okay. They only wanted my body. And when they left, they just tossed the money onto the table, treating me like I was nothing more than a purchased toy. The hotel manager took most of it. A small, pathetic amount was sent to my parents every month. And each time I spoke to my father, he would proudly say, "You are doing well, Zara. You are supporting us. Keep it up." Those words were utterly devastating. They pierced deeper than any knife could. To the outside world, the hotel looked perfectly normal. Families checking in, businessmen holding meetings, couples celebrating anniversaries. But behind those locked doors, girls like me lived a nightmare. We quickly learned a terrible survival mechanism. We learned to smile even when we were dying inside. We learned to laugh when all we wanted to do was scream. We learned to act as if we enjoyed it, because saying no was never an option. Together, we shared our pain and quiet whispers at night when the corridors were empty. The hardest part wasn't the physical pain. It was the chilling emptiness. No one loved us. No one cared. We were not wives, not girlfriends, not daughters. We were just bodies for rent. I often wondered, do these men ever think? Do they realize they are destroying a girl's soul for their temporary pleasure. But then, I remembered they didn't care because in this hotel, girls were not humans. We were simply business. Sometimes I still thought about love, about marriage, about having someone who would see me as a person, not an object. But every time a man touched me without respect, that dream faded further. Love for girls like me was a fairy tale. Reality was dark, cruel, and endless, yet deep inside something new started growing. Not hope, not yet. But anger. A white, hot rage. Anger at my parents for selling me. Anger at men for using me. Anger at a world that pretended to be modern and civilized, but still allowed girls like me to suffer in silence. That anger became my lifeline. That anger whispered, "One day, you will speak. One day your story will not be hidden." And, with that thought, I wiped my tears, stood up from the bed, and faced another night. Nights kept passing, but my soul absolutely refused to rest. Every time a man left the room, I lay broken, wondering if there was any end to this misery. I had stopped hoping for a physical rescue. My parents had abandoned me. The hotel manager controlled me. The men only wanted my body. It felt like the whole world had turned its back on me. But deep down, a small spark of strength remained. One night, after a cruel customer left me bruised, I sat near the window and looked at the cold city lights of Manchester. I thought to myself, maybe someone somewhere is living a normal life, studying, working, dreaming. Why am I the one trapped here? That question kept burning inside me. Slowly, I realized something truly revolutionary. I was not the guilty one. I was the victim. The guilt belonged to my parents who chose money over their own daughter. The guilt belonged to those men who came only for their dirty pleasure. The guilt belonged to the society, which stayed silent. And for the first time in months, I cried. Not because I was weak, but because I was still alive. My tears were no longer of surrender. They were tears of resistance. Even after that realization, the routine didn't stop. Men kept coming. Some were violent. Some tried to pretend to be sweet, but I could now see right through their lies. One man told me, "You're beautiful. I can love you forever." I looked straight into his eyes and asked, "Is love something you buy by the hour? Is love something that ends the moment you leave this room?" He was completely silent. And in that silence, I found my power. I wasn't completely alone in this hotel. There were other girls. Rani from Bangladesh, Sophia from Romania, Meena from Pakistan. Each had a different, heartbreaking story. Some were tricked, some were forced, some were sold by their own families like me. At night, when the customers were gone, we sat together in the corridor, whispering our pain. Looking at them, I realized this wasn't just my story. This was the story of thousands of girls whose lives were stolen for money and lust. Every month the hotel manager sent money to my parents. And every month my father called me to proudly say, "We are proud of you." Keep working hard. You are helping the family survive. Those words cut me like a knife. Proud of what? That their daughter was being used by strangers. That I had no dignity left. At that moment, I understood one final truth. Parents are meant to protect. But sometimes they become the first to destroy. And then, I thought about the men. Men who were doctors, engineers, drivers, students. Different faces, same desire. They never asked my name. They never cared about my tears. For them, I was only a body. But I wanted to tell them. Every time you use a girl like me, remember she is someone's daughter. She once had dreams. She once wanted love, not lust. By buying her body, you are not only destroying her life, you are destroying your own humanity. After months of darkness, I finally made a decision. If my life was ruined, at least I would not let my story be completely wasted. I had to share it. I would let the world know what truly happens behind those hotel doors. Because silence only protects the guilty. Truth protects the innocent. So today, if you're listening to me, remember this. To parents, don't ever sacrifice your daughters for money. Education is true wealth, not exploitation. Your greed may give you a few months of money, but it will also give your child a lifetime of pain. To men, stop treating women as objects. Stop going to hotels searching for bodies. Real love is never bought, it is painstakingly built. Respect women if you want respect for yourselves. To society, please speak up. Don't close your eyes. Every single girl deserves dignity, safety, and a fundamental chance to dream. My body may have been used and abused, but my soul still fiercely speaks. And through my voice, I want to tell every girl, you are not guilty. You are not an object. You are valuable. Protect yourself, love yourself, and never let anyone destroy your dignity.